All right. Hey, welcome. We are here on November 1st somehow. And we're back to the standing practice. And I thought, this set of poses is the first poses we learn when we learn yoga. And over time, they can become very kind of stale. So I thought we'd just bring a few new approaches to several standing poses just to kind of make them fresh again and to explore some of the mechanics in new ways. And so that's kind of our theme this week. And we're going to begin, we'll warm up and then we'll get up to the standing work and then we'll come down. So start in your non-dominant cross-legged position and just take a moment to create space between the sitting bones. Give yourself support if you need it. Try to create as much symmetry in the legs as you can. And then really kind of rock back and forth and side to side on your sitting bones. See if you can just really find the center points. Put the shoulders above the hips. Try to create length to the torso, front and back. Adjust your skull so it's right above the spine. And then see if you can kind of find your shoulders rotating back, your chest lifting and spreading. Think about your sternum shaped like a kite and just lifting your kite. And then keeping that, keep your shoulders back as you join your hands in front of your kite. Close your eyes and look away from your brain. We're just going to think about a little U-turn of energy in the torso here. So you're just going to think about every in-breath, creating space from your hips to your armpits. And when you breathe out, you're not collapsing that space. You're trying to maintain it. And then there's a U-turn of energy at the armpits. And you want to feel some gravity starting to descend from the upper inner armpit down the inner upper arms, all the way to the elbows. So you might visualize this and kind of connect the visualization with your breathing, inhaling up the sides of the trunk, hips to armpits, exhaling from the armpits to the elbows. Just kind of creating this harmony between our upward moving energy and our downward moving energy. Try to soften your face and your abdomen. And now would be a good time if there's any certain intention or context, anything you want to devote this practice to, remembering BKS Iyengar says every pose can be treated like a prayer. Keeping that kite of your sternum floating nice and high. Exhale, bow to your heart. Release your hands. And as you're ready, inhale, lift your head. Let your eyes gently open. And welcome. So we're going to warm up from seated. We're going to take the kind of 6 actions of the spine. If you're in your cross-legged position, just change the crossing of your legs. Bring your hands to your thighs somewhere. Drop the chin to the chest. And just start to move your chin from shoulder to shoulder. And I like to align the in-breath with the head moving to the side, the out-breath with the head coming to center. Just sensing into what the neck and shoulders have to say this morning. Keep your chest nice and high. Don't collapse the chest. And then the next time your chin rolls back to center, go ahead and lift the head back up. And just start to move your shoulders in small circles. Just bringing the shoulders in either direction. We'll change the direction in a moment. Looking for smoothness. So not trying to make this anything but what it is. Just keeping it smooth and small and slow enough that you can feel every little point along the way, as if it's a 1,000-spoked wheel. And then find a place to switch direction, taking the shoulders in the other direction. Maybe noticing some changes here in this new direction. Maybe it feels similar to the first direction. And landing with the shoulders back and grounded. We're going to flex and extend the spine now. So you just join the feet. And the feet can be far away from your body, so a soft bound angle pose. Bring your hands in front of you and take them out as far forward as they'll go. And bow your head. So you're just attempting to create a single curvature along your spine. Chin tucks into the chest, the belly draws back toward the back body, the tailbone curls into the body. And then creeping the hands in to stack your spine. Bring your hands behind you and interlock your fingers. Roll your shoulders back and bring your arms, fully extend the elbows so there's no bend. So it's like you're holding something very heavy in your palms. And then treat your hands like an anchor for your heart center to shoot away from. So dynamic relationship between those heavy hands and that really buoyant sternum, that kite of your sternum. Coil the shoulder blades rather than just jamming them together across your back. Try to turn the inner tips toward the chest. Be careful that you're not throwing your weight into your abdomen and shortening your lumbar. So keep a long lumbar spine. On an in-breath, just lengthening out of that back bend. Soften your hands. You can cross your legs again. We're going to place the left hand next to us. Inhale the right arm up and exhale for lateral movement of the spine, so the crescent shape. Right away, put some weight back into your right sitting bone. And maybe, just maybe, if you're able to, turning your sternum toward the ceiling. Bringing just a small amount of rotation into the lateral movement of the spine. Letting the breath sweep through the right side body here. Maybe those intercostals are a little brittle. And with every breath, they become more supple, more elastic, more conducive to deeper breath. Use an inhale to lift you up and out of it. Place your right hand down, inhale the left arm up, exhale it over. And again, put some weight back into the left sitting bone. You might soften into your right elbow so that you can take a deeper sideways shape with your spine. And maybe turning the chest a little bit more skyward. And you'll know if that piece is welcome in your body or not. We never work with pain. Inhale, lengthen up and out of it. Exhale, bring the hand down. So lastly, we'll do twisting. Inhaling both arms up. On the exhale, turn into the right. Left hand to the right knee or thigh. Right hand behind you. You can always add some height under the hand. Make sure you're not leaning back. Try to keep your spine very upright. And really pressing the left hand against the right thigh to help you move the spine, to help you move the rib cage. Turning your head and looking over the right shoulder. After an exhale, inhale, sweep your arms up. And exhale to the left. Right hand to the left knee or thigh, left hand behind you. Press that hand against your thigh. So move the head last. Otherwise, we tend to cheat the lower spine. When you feel that the twist is ascended up the spine, then turn the head, look over the left shoulder. And after an exhalation, inhale, sweep your hands up and exhale your hands to your heart center. Close your eyes when you pass by the face and just rest for a few moments, remembering the U-turn. So breathing up the sides of the trunk, exhale heavy into the elbows. Elbows melting toward the floor. The buoyant, light, lengthened spine. And then the periphery, a little more weighted. Good. So gently open your eyes. We're going to keep warming up. We're going to move into table pose, hands and knees. Find the knees under the hips, find the feet as wide as the knees. The hands can be directly in line with shoulders, or you might bring the handprint, the whole handprint forward if you need to relieve some wrist pressure. Exhale, cat tilt. Nice singular curve along the spine. Hollowing even the armpits. Hollow the armpits, push down into the floor. Inhale. Cow tilt, arch your back, look forward, tailbone up. Exhale, move with your own breath. Going through the 6 actions again here. Flexion and extension, keep going, we'll do a couple more here. Last one. With your next breath, neutral spine. We're going to laterally move, so kidney squeeze, inhale, big breath, exhale, push your hips to the right and look to your left outer hip side. Feeling that gentle massaging compression to the left hip side, the opening to the right hip side. Left kidney getting a little organ massage. And with each passing exhale, there's a little opportunity to sink the right hip a little closer to the floor. Use the top of your head as kind of the exit point for the curvature of the spine. So envision it here from the tailbone, the entire spine, and then out through the crown, one beautiful crescent shape. Last exhale. Inhale, navel to spine, move through center. Keep rolling the hips to the left side. Looking over to the right hip side. Deep breaths. So good for the kidneys, which are like our battery packs in our bodies. When we compress them, we massage them, we detox them. Inhale, center. And now twisting, we're going to go into thread the needle. So on an in-breath, take your right hand, feed it through the length, the space between the left hand and knee. Come down to the right side of the head. You might need to prop your head. So bringing a prop there if you need it. So step the left hand forward. You might tent up your left fingers and then use the pressure down of the right arm, the left hand, and then of course your legs and knees to help you peel the chest toward the ceiling. You're probably accessing some good sensation in your shoulder blades. Send the breath there. There's no need to take the left hand up, but if you feel you need to increase sensation, if your mind is wandering or you're a little too dull, feel free to take left hand either onto left hip or over to the right hip side or up into the sky. You're going to send out 2 more deep exhalations. And when you're ready to breathe in next, you're going to step the left hand closer. Inhale, take the right hand back to the floor. Reestablish that kind of neutral spine table pose. Picking up the left hand, inhale, exhale, taking the length of the arm as best you can through the space of the right limbs. Propping your head if you need to bring the floor a little closer to you. Slide the right hand forward. And gently pressing down into the floor, start to turn your chest toward the ceiling. So using that root to rise equation of more pressure down gives you more ability to lift and twist. Staying for 3 more exhales. Wringing the spine out with each one. Last one. Use an inhale to slowly step that right hand back. Bring that left hand back. You're back in table pose. Curl the toes under. Exhale, extend your legs. Downward facing dog. You might take the feet a little wider than hips if you need a little more room. You might start to pump the heels one at a time to kind of sense into your legs. On an in-breath, take your weight forward, plank position. You might want to drop your knees down if this is too intense. Try to take the tailbone toward the floor. Keep your chest more forward than it wants to be. It wants to kind of cave in toward the back. Keep the chest moving toward kind of the area in front of you. And then place your knees. Step the knees wide, feet together, sit back, child's pose. And again, there you are in that singular curve. So make sure you're not bottlenecked. Take your forehead closer to the hairline with your point of contact. Tailbone toward the floor. Arms fully extended. And the arms are extensions of your torso. So use the arms to continue finding spaciousness to the sides of the trunk. So we're going to come prone position by grazing the mat with the chin and chest. Stay really low. You're going to glide onto the floor that way. And then you're going to step your knees just wide enough so they're hip distance. Feet are grounded and thighs are centered. Take your hands next to your low floating ribs. Squeeze the elbows in a little bit, which broadens the chest, broadens the shoulders. On an exhale, pressing up into a Cobra Pose. Keep the buttocks really kind of fleshy and soft. Take the tailbone toward the floor. Exhale, release. Take the toes underneath. Press back to downward facing dog. Okay, because we need to squeeze in one more back bend, we're going to just repeat that little sequence one more time. So from downward facing dog, inhale forward to a plank position. So you're one beautiful clean line from the shoulders to the heels. You're not sagging, you're not floating in the middle. Scoop the belly toward the back, take the tailbone toward the floor. Good, place the knees. Knees wide, feet together, sit back, child's pose. You're going to catch an inhale, grazing the mat with your chin and chest, moving forward, arm to the belly. Set up your legs right away. Feet are hip distance, small toes are down, inner thighs are up. Hands are right next to floating ribs, elbows tighten in. And on an exhale, Cobra Pose. Really taking the pelvic tilt to a nice deep posterior tilt. Fleshy buttocks, not a hard little nugget. fleshy buttocks. Wonderful. Toes under, downward facing dog. This one, you're going to try to hold 5 breaths. And if you need to leave early, you're going to tiptoe toward the wrist for a ragdoll, standing ragdoll. 2 more breaths. On an inhale, tipping, toeing toward the wrists until your feet are directly in line with your hips. Your knees might need to be soft. So we're going to be working into Uttanasana. If you need blocks under your hands, find them. We're starting in Ardha Uttanasana. So feet are hip distance. Hands are in line with shoulders and they might need blocks under them. Legs are as straight as they're going to be for now. And we're looking forward. So the low back is either flat or concave. It's not yet rounded. Balance the weight over your feet. Some of us collect weight in the heels. Some of us are toe clingers. So really spread your weight around and notice your patterns. Big theme of this week's practice is kind of stepping out of the habits that we've accumulated because we've practiced these poses so many times. We don't want to be phoning them in. We want to feel them directly and presently. So weight bearing is even over the feet. One more in-breath. Exhale, full Uttanasana, bowing toward your legs. Maybe the blocks come lower, maybe the hands come lower. Breathe into that deep sensation you feel. We'll stay 5 more breaths. When you come to the end of the next exhalation, really take the stomach muscles toward the back body, take your hands to your hips and try to come up with a straight back rather than rolling up. Come up with nice support from the abdomen. And when you're there, put yourself in mountain pose. Feet together, legs together, if you can balance that way. Roll the shoulders back. Imagine your shoulder blades sliding down into your back pockets. Take the buttocks into the front body. Take the thighs from front to back. Go back to your U-turn, close your eyes. And with the in-breath, lengthen the pelvis, the rib cage, the skull, lift. With the out-breath, feel the weight of your arms dripping out of the fingertips with the out-breath. Keep your chin neutral, but your gaze is pointed down toward your cheeks. Establish a connection with the floor that means that you feel some depth beneath your feet. You don't feel like you are super glued to the floor. You want to feel you have roots. Invite the face toward the back of the head. Sense that everything in the front body moves back except that flying kite of your breastbone. Good. So let's open the eyes. And just release your limbs, shake them out. You might kick your legs, you might shake your arms. So we have a series of standing poses. We're going to do kind of some tweaks. We're going to make some tweaks. But let's just take Vrikshasana, which is tree pose, just to establish kind of some focus or some concentration. So we'll step into the left foot. It's your Tadasana foot, the same foot you just used for mountain pose. And the right heel is going to stack against the left. Inner shin, inner ankle, toes stay down for now. Take your hands to your hips. And just imagine that you have a plexiglass in front of the hip points. You want right hip point to be there as well as left hip point. Right hip point is going to try to peel back. So your work is to keep right hip point forward as you take right knee back. Right knee goes back, right hip point stays forward. Excuse me. Suck the inseam of your left leg to the midline of the body, creating kind of an extension of your spine that way. Maybe stepping up the leg if you can maintain the alignment in the body, maybe keeping the toes down. Maybe going as high as above the knee. Maybe you're going to stay over the lower leg, but just don't be along the knee itself. Find a gaze, a focal point that's straight across the room, level with your eye line. Maybe the hands come together at the heart center. And maybe the arms go up if we have enough of a rooting system going on beneath us. If we don't have that, we keep the hands closer to the chest or even on the hips. And as you stare out into that focal point, draw your attention back inside your body. However far you took the pose, you're going to start to work those steps backwards, one by one. Assist your foot down and shake out your left leg. Establish the right foot in Tadasana. Prop the left heel. Right away, draw the right hip bone to midline. Don't let it poke out, which will destabilize you. And then put your hands maybe even over your hip points. Imagine that plexiglass there. You want to keep left hip point forward as you start to steer your left knee toward the wall behind you. Accessing the deep external rotation of the hips. So then maybe decide you're going to step up the leg. Maybe you're going to keep the toes on the ground. It's not just foot into leg, it's leg into foot. So have equal partnership there. And then really listen for the inner cueing of where the hands go. Maybe they stay low. Maybe there's enough support to start to move in front of the chest or even overhead. Remember to use the steadiness of your gaze. Descend your temples. If the arms went up, there's a lot of energy flying up. We have to temper that with some softness to the gaze and the temples. And then however far, again, you took it, start to work it backwards with just as much care. Stepping down and shaking out. Okay. So we're going to come into triangle. We're not going to jump out into our poses today just because we have kind of props to work with. I don't want anybody having any tripping hazards. So I have my smaller block I'm going to use. If you have only the big foamy blocks, that's probably too big for what we're going to do. So you could substitute with a blanket. So we're going to be working in triangle pose with the front foot being elevated. So either rolling a blanket, working with that amount of height, or propping the right foot. You're going to be propping the ball mounds and the toes. So the arch of the foot and the heel, the arch of the foot is free and clear. The heel is grounded. The left foot steps open so that we have that equilateral triangle shape between the floor and the legs. Turn the left toes in. Intersect the right heel to the left arch of the left foot. So the idea here is when we don't have the prop, the elevation of the front foot, we tend to have those toes kind of jamming out. So this kind of helps us refer weight to the back leg heel, which is very important for stability in this pose. So in essence, you can think about doing this pose with the right toes lifted and not supported. That's kind of what we're trying to sense here, or feel. So you might even kind of lift and spread your right toes just to kind of exaggerate what we're doing. Okay, so right now the pelvis shouldn't be at an angle. Your pelvis should be level. Your legs are firm, and we're going to take the arms up and open. And then we're going to move our elbows from our elbows to our fingertips just to feel the contrast of the upper and lower arm. Big inhale here. And now on your exhale, lengthen toward the right toes with the right hand, but feel that you're really anchored and established into the left heel. And then just bring your right hand down to your leg somewhere the left arm over top and maybe taking hold of the hip if you have a shoulder issue. And then just kind of sensing into what we're doing here, feeling how we're kind of referring the weight into that left heel, which helps us feel a little more stable. I hope you can feel that. Inhale, lift and lengthen up and out of it. And then lower the arms and safely get your foot off of that block. We're going to add a piece. So you're going to find your strap. And this, what we're going to use the strap for, you don't need the strap in a loop. You can just kind of hold your strap with your hands, squeezing around it. You're going to put yourself back in that same propped right foot position where you just were. Okay, so we're not already prematurely dumping that right pelvis side. Pelvis is level. Take the arms up. Hands are wider than the shoulders. So this is a hands-free version of triangle pose. I think it feels pretty powerful, actually. So we want fully extended arms, meaning we don't want the quasi bent elbow thing, straight arms. And we also want to invite the hands slightly back to help us move and lift the chest, help us move the shoulder blades in and lift the chest. Okay, so establish your left heel, strong connection with the floor, big inhale, and then exhale, lengthening to the right. And you're not going to go to your deepest triangle here, but I just want you to feel how spacious it is, how stable it is. Wonderful. Inhale, lengthen up and out of it. Release your arms down and safely help yourself off of that stepping stone. So I want us to feel the pose now with that information, but doing the pose the way we normally do it. So if you're a chair, if you like to use your hand on a chair rather than a block, you're going to have your chair seat ready to the right. And if you are using a block for triangle, have that towards the right back edge of your mat, whatever setting or height you need. For this one, feel free to jump or step out. Take your hands onto your hips, prepare the legs, so rotating from the root of the thigh so that the knee follows, the thigh follows, turning in with the left toes, aligning the hips like you did for tree pose so they're against that plexiglass. Good, let's take the arms up. So we no longer have that block propping the right foot, but what you might do is lift and spread your toes. So you kind of can recreate that feeling. Lift the toes from the floor, spread them. Now open the arms, rotate elbows to fingertips, and lengthen into right-sided triangle pose. Hands come to the block or the chair. Try to, with your own efforts, refer weight into your left heel. And remember how kind of liberating and spacious it felt to hold that strap. See if you can create that amount of lightness in your torso and your arms across the chest. Wonderful. These look great. Inhale, lift yourself out of it. Turn your toes forward and jump or step the feet together. So between sides, just a palate cleanser, mountain pose, softening into that pose, dropping the shoulders, feeling the U-turn from the hips to the armpits, the dense heaviness of the arms, fingertips oozing toward the floor, the shoulders melting away from the earlobes. Notice your breath. And you're staying as long as you need to for the breath to become smooth and even. As you feel ready, blinking the eyes open. And we'll set up the left side, the very same adventure. So we're going to prop the left foot. And again, that could be a rolled blanket. It could be a low, skinnier height of block. I think I have a 2-inch block, I want to say. Anything bigger is probably excessive, and you'll probably not feel good in your left heel. So just make sure that It's not too high. Intersect left heel to right arch. No strap yet, we'll do the strap in a moment. So hip points against the plexiglass. Don't let the left knee turn in, so you have to rotate the flesh of the left thigh to keep the knee tracking with the toes, and your pelvis is level. Take the arms up, take the arms open, keep the upper arms as they are, and move from elbows to fingertips, palms down. Inhale here, exhale, extending to the left. Now we tilt the pelvis down, taking the hand onto the leg somewhere. It doesn't have to be your lowest triangle pose. That's not what the point is. You might need your right hand to the hip. You might not. And just notice how the positioning plunges the left femur head into the left hip socket and really allows weight to stay steady in your right back heel. It's a big piece of this pose. Gives you a lot more security and stability. But inhale up and out of it. Release the arms and safely pivot or step off the block so that you can grab your strap. And again, you don't need a loop. You can just kind of hold the strap, not the scrap, with your hands. Put yourself back in position. Arms overhead, resist the hands apart. That's a powerful thing to do, to pull the hands apart without them actually going anywhere. Notice what's happening in the legs and feet. Keep the pelvis level at this point still. So Judy, you're a little bit already prematurely, there you go. All right, big in-breath. Take the arms back a little bit. Come to the top of the in-breath. Exhale. Now we lengthen into that triangle shape. Take it to your edge. Really stepping deeply into right heel. Really plunging left femur head into the hip socket. Keeping left side body long. Inhale up and out of it. And exhale, release your arms. Pivot off the block. Step the feet together. And then whatever you'd like to use for triangle pose to support the left hand, chair seat or block. We're going to try to see if those little imprints had any good influence over our triangle pose. So jumper step, the feet wide, hands to the hips, pivot left toes out, right toes in. Steer your torso back from left to right to get those hip points on that little plexiglass. Make sure your left knee is looking at your left toes. Inhale, arms up and open. And then turning from elbows to fingertips. In breath, exhale, extending. So again, you might lift and spread your left toes just to kind of recreate that effect. Take your hand to your block or your chair seat so that it's in line with your left shoulder. Try to recreate that lightness in your torso that the arms holding the strap kind of helped us feel. And continue to sense weight into your right heel here. Really stamp that right heel down. Top, you're going to use an in-breath to lift you up and out of it. Wonderful. Turning your left toes forward. Jumper step the feet together. And come back to mountain pose. Noticing if there's any stillness starting to show up in the body. And it might just be that there's less wobbliness and it's not complete stillness yet. But there's always evidence that the practice is bringing the steadiness into the physical body, which of course, as we know, influences a steadiness in the mind. Okay, so you're just allowing for your breath. You're waiting for that smooth, steady breath. When you have it, then blink the eyes open. Maybe shake the limbs out a little bit. And now we're gonna do warrior two with a strap, and we do want to have a loop. Some of you have done this before with me. We're going to be taking, so it has to be a big loop. And hopefully by now you have a strap that holds. So a bathrobe tie, you'd have to make a knot, pretty tight knot. Hopefully by now you have a strap that holds. We're going to be taking the loop to the right hip crease and the left foot. And then you're tightening it off. So I'm going to come closer so you can see this. Right hip crease, right here. And then it's going to be, you can't see my foot there, but the arch or closer to the heel of the arch of the left foot. And then you're going to take a quick kind of that 90-degree shape just to see if you have the tension right on the strap. So you might need to adjust the strap, right, to loosen it or tighten it. We really want to feel a tautness, because the idea here that we're going to kind of study is how deep we can go in these poses where we have the bent knee when we have a feeling of support in the bent knee thigh. So that's kind of the purpose of what we're doing here. Of course, also we have that really nice feedback of the strap going into our back foot like you did with your triangle pose. So it is kind of dual purpose. So once you have the tautness, you're gonna kind of find your knee above your ankle, take the bent knee shape. Remember the idea of the hip point staying level with the broad side of the mat. And then just stretch your arms out nice and long and look over the right fingers. And try to simultaneously notice how well established you are in your left heel because of that strap, and how much you can kind of sink into your right hip because of the strap. So there's a little bit more freedom in the legs when we have the support. And then there's more depth. And one day, someday, we have this 90-degree relationship. Our thigh looks pretty much level with the floor, our shin pretty much perpendicular to the floor. Go ahead and push the floor away to straighten. And then you might need to kind of finagle your way out of there safely. So I don't like to guide the exit. Sometimes it's more intuitive and safer. So we're only doing that one kind of tweak with that pose. We're going to go into the pose now, hands free, strap free, just to kind of see if we can recreate what we just did. So after all the props are kind of like orthodonture, we do all these manipulations and we use all this gear so that eventually we don't need it. Okay, so go ahead and jumper step wide. Hands to your hips, turn from the root of the thigh, toes out, toe in with the left toes. Re-establish your hips pointing to that long end of the mat, plexiglass hips. Go ahead and exhale the knee above the ankle. And try to recreate the support, the security you had with that strap. So in other words, maybe the thigh can go a little lower. Stretch the arms out nice and wide. Look over your right fingertips. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Descend the shoulder blades down your back. Float the sternum, the kite of the sternum nice and high. So you can go a little deeper into the right hip joint and stomp a little deeper into your left hip, heel. Beautiful. You guys look nice and deep. So the pelvis should be level here. I see some of you sloping down with the right pelvis. No, we want to lift the right pelvis, but take the right thigh lower. Don't let your pelvis slope down. Inhale, push the floor away, straighten, toes forward, jumper step together. Okay, close the eyes, drop the shoulders. After a while, the pose just kind of puts itself back together. So sometimes at this point, we're 45 minutes into a practice, that body intelligence is starting to really reveal itself. And I find this very comforting. The body has its own intelligence. Watch the breath. Allow the breath to flow. And when you're ready, blink the eyes open. Side two. Going into our loop. So I had, you know me, I had 5 poses planned for today. We're only going to get through 2 before we come down to the floor, but we're going to save the rest for Friday. So we'll do a different practice on Friday. Okay, so it's going to left hip crease and right arch of your foot. You shouldn't need to adjust the strap a whole lot because roughly the same width will be showing up here. Okay, so arch of the foot, top of the left thigh, make sure you have the proper alignment. You have the heel connecting with the arch of the right foot. If you drew a line, toeing in with the right foot, 90 degrees with the left foot. Steer your torso back to facing the broad side of the mat. Check in with the hips. You probably have that left hip rotating back. Bring it forward, but make sure the knee presses back, just like tree pose. Your pelvis is level. Drop as much weight as you're comfortable with. So let the strap do the work. You're releasing the thigh down. And I had a teacher once describe something. It was one of those moments in class where the light bulb goes off. If we need to equalize this pose, we have a lot of pressure down with the thigh. So think about the under thigh of the left thigh having this mesh of support moving to the top thigh. And the strap kind of helps you think about that. The under thigh supporting, not just collapsing or exploding to the floor, moving toward the top thigh. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, let it go. Leave it. Stretch the arms out wide. Gently turn the flesh of the trunk from left to right to equalize, so we're not turning toward the left, but look over the left fingers. Go deeper. Use the strap. Drop in. Bring the underside of the thigh toward the top thigh. Keep the pelvis level. You're not dumping out the left pelvis. Good. Push the floor away to straighten, and then carefully find your way out of that container of your strap. And we'll see if we can sense that support without the strap. So jumper step wide. Set it up. Keep the legs straight for now. Get the hips where they need to be. On an exhale, take the knee above the ankle. Try to really step into right heel. And again, plunge the femur head into the left hip socket. Extend the arms. Magnetize the left knee toward the wall behind you, which will help roll the hip point forward. So Katie, you're a little bit sloped with the pelvis. Pick up your left pelvis. Yep, good. A little wobbly, but yep, you just undid a little habit, so that happens. And then even though you're looking over those left fingers, anchor into your right wrist and anchor your eyeballs into your head. Good. Go ahead and straighten. Turn the toes forward. And go ahead and come back to one last mountain pose. As if you're against a wall with your back body, including the skull and the shoulders. The buttocks away from the wall, toward the front body. Be a little more established in your heels now. Drop the shoulders. So we know we're mastering this pose when we don't really feel much effort. It's like a standing shavasana. So when you're ready, when this breath is smooth, blink the eyes open, and we're going to do Prasarita Patatanasana just to kind of wind down. So you might want to use a seat of a chair for arm and head support. This is our wide standing fold, by the way. You might be able to get by with blocks. And some of us like to put the head in contact with something if it's possible you might put a block under your head. So make it your own. We will start with the concave lumbar, the Ardha Prasarita Patatanasana. So it's the wide feet. You're not going to jump anymore because we're trying to kind of down-regulate the nervous system. So just step the feet wide, toes in front of heels. Make sure you're not bulldozing your small toe. So lift and spread the toes. Concave lumbar. So either your hands are on your chair seat or on the blocks, so right underneath the shoulders, you're going to look forward. And you're just going to try to extend the torso. We're trying to kind of cultivate some length to the torso before we go into the forward bend. So bring some weight more into your heels. And then after you kind of have brought some length to the trunk, then cascade the torso toward the floor or toward the chair. Your hands where they need to be so that you can surrender your shoulders. Maybe you're supporting the forehead if you're on the chair. Maybe you're supporting the crown of the head if you're not doing the chair version. And maybe the head is free. That's another good option. The legs stay firm and extended. And so they do the heavy lifting so that the torso can really become more passive. The skull can support that what am I trying to say? The reverse flow of gravity along the spine, decompression of the spine. So use the weight of the head. And if you're supporting the head, you have to be cognizant that we don't want our head jamming into something. We want it to be supported, but not like it can't go anywhere, because you will continue to get longer. So hopefully your prop is allowing you to continue to lengthen. Just 3 more exhales. And after the last one here, start to inhale out of the pose. We are going to come to the floor, so it's your choice if you need to come up first to come down, or maybe you're able to take the knees down right away. We're going to finish with a supine twist. So you shouldn't need anything except maybe a little support for your head so that we could keep our chin and forehead on the same level. Nothing bulky. And then you're going to spread your arms out to each side. Palms are down. Cross your right leg over your left leg. Tuck your left hip under your right hip. So you have to slide that left hip kind of to the middle of the mat so the right hip can come above. Let the legs fall to the left. Use your left hand to hold them there. And then roll your head to the right and maybe turn the right palm face up now. Just like when you were standing on the floor, try to establish some roots. So you're not just pasted to the floor here, you have some depth underneath your body. So let the parts of your body meeting the floor drop down into the floor. I'm going to stay for 3 more breaths on this side. Imagine your breath kind of sitting in a funnel. So let the entire breath empty out. If you follow your breath out, one clue that you've done so is there's a little contraction at the bottom of the breath in the pelvic floor. Now use an in-breath to gently move back to your back body. Gently uncross your legs. Take some time to straighten yourself out on your mat. Make sure your skull, your shoulders, your hips, your low back, everything is put back in kind of a spacious, symmetrical way. Re-stretch the arms out to each side. Cross the left leg over the right leg. And then lifting your hips off the floor so you can tuck the right hip under you, the left hip above, which means you have to slide that right hip a little bit to the left. Right hand holds the legs there. Head rolls left. Left palm flips over so it's face up, which helps your shoulders settle. Every time you breathe out, just dropping a little bit more weight, letting it go. From here, gently start to make your way back. Uncross your legs. Inquire if anything needs to move or shift or be addressed before you're in Shavasana. And then set yourself up for final resting pose. Make sure you're warm enough. Putting the arms at enough distance from the torso that the skin of the arms doesn't touch the skin of the trunk, but then don't go any much farther than that. Lift your shoulders from the floor and try to roll the shoulder blades up toward the chest, and maybe sense the shoulders coming down a little bit more heavily. Rock your head until your chin comes a little closer to your chest. And then when all those little nitpicky adjustments have been addressed, then just start to surrender. Let everything become passive, excusing the effort of the practice now. Soften your face. Try to sense the heaviest parts of your body meeting the floor and imagine them oozing deeper into the earth. Your body breathing on its own. Unhinge your jaw. Let your mouth become more spacious inside. And with each passing exhalation, let the belly sink softly toward the pelvis. So we did come into Shavasana a little late. So if you want to stay longer, you're more than welcome to always do that. And if you want to come out of it with me, you can start to just invite a little deeper breath. Start to wiggle the fingers and toes. We're going to bring our hands onto our belly and we're going to bring our feet to the floor. And you're going to roll to your right side so that the heart moves to the center of the chest. And then bring your hands to the floor and press down and help yourself gently come up. Sitting up tall, joining the hands. Drop the tail going toward the floor. Take a deep breath in, floating the sternum kite. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Let it go. There's a place within me that I know to be divine. I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Thank you all for being here. Look forward to seeing you again soon.